Welcome back. Today I have a backlog of rapid games on Lichess that I need to analyze, but first let's address the title up there. I realized after I recorded my previous video, which was Blitz Just for Fun, that it said puzzles the whole time. So let's take care of that first. Okay, I think that's fixed. The longer I do this, the longer of a checklist that I need every time I start a video. I need to make sure the mic's recording. I need to make sure the title is correct. I need to make sure that my rapid rating down there in the corner has been updated. A lot of things to remember, but anyway, let's just get on to analyzing these games. As I said, I have a big backlog. I'm just going to do as many as I can stand, starting with this one against Moogypoog. It says that I resigned and Black won, but it's 2 or more weeks ago, so I've already forgotten how that went. But let's see if I can figure out what I should have played instead of the blunders that I did play. I am going to recrop that. Okay, the graph at the bottom and the little chart down at the lower right that you can't see said I only had 2 mistakes in this game. Interestingly, both of them came when I was already behind. So I'm guessing that there are some of the inaccuracies. It said I had 5 inaccuracies led to me being behind in order to make the mistake. So I'm going to check the inaccuracies as well. It looks like we got an Italian game, and then I tried the Evans Gambit, which didn't quite work, although I'm not that far behind at this point. I'm just going to keep going until my opponent made a mistake there. I responded with an inaccuracy, but we're still even. Okay, there was a mistake. Let's see. Okay, we were just near even before I made the mistake of pressing forward with F5. Okay, so what should I have played here instead? I thought that the e-pawn was defended by the queen and the knight and the rook, so I wasn't too worried about them having 2 pieces pointed there. Thought I could harass this knight. I guess the problem is it can come in here? Or is the problem that it could come in behind where the pawn was? Part of the problem, the reason that I moved it is because the pawn's hanging. The knight can just take it. They've just moved this knight here in order to take it, so I thought best way to save it would be to move it forward. I honestly can't see what I should have played instead, unless it's maybe sliding the rook over to defend this pawn, since I already have 2 defenders on the e-pawn. Or should I have threatened the rook here with the bishop? The pawn moved forward, I could take it, and then if the other pawn took back, I could take it too, and be forking the rooks. Maybe that's it. I have no... What just happened? Sorry, I was just talking and it turned on the engine. You saw that, right? It turned on the engine and played the next move. Okay, that's frustrating. It says I should have played g3. Okay, well, I was going to try to figure it out myself, but let's back up. Okay, bishop to b5 is listed among my best moves. It's my second best, but g3 is the only one that maintains equality here. Okay, that would have protected this pawn, I guess. That's what I was so worried about. Bishop to b5, it says they wouldn't have moved the pawn up. They would have blocked with the bishop. I would have taken the bishop. They would have taken my bishop. And then I would have played g3. Okay, so that wasn't that smart because they have a light squared bishop. It would help them develop it. We would trade off, and then all the work I did getting mine over here in the first place, where it's been kind of useless because of my own pawn. I don't know why that would have been so bad then, except that pawn's still hanging. So g3. All right, but I didn't play g3. I played f5 as a mistake because they can put their knight in the middle. Okay, that's what I figured, which threatens my bishop, and I'm down -2. I should save the bishop by moving it here, even though it is defended. But my best move is to put one of the knights over here. It looks like the back knight. The rear knight should go over here to protect the front knight, which isn't in danger. And it says if I played that, then they would take this, and I would take back, and then they would get the e-pawn. Okay. I brought the wrong knight to the wrong spot. Okay, yeah, you saw I was supposed to put the back knight over there to the left, but I put the front knight over to the right, which it wasn't counted as an inaccuracy, but my opponent should have just taken it, and I would have taken back with the pawn, or they could have just put their bishop here. And if they had, then I would have taken their knight in the middle, okay? But they didn't. They played a4, which takes us, that was only an inaccuracy, but you saw it went from -2.5, almost back to even. And I am supposed to take that knight in the middle, but I played my 3rd best move. Okay. But anyway, we're back to even here, really close to even until I played an inaccuracy here. We're still close to even. They played their best move. Well, I never would have found the 2 moves that it says would have kept us close to even. One is taking this pawn, which looks like it just gives up a bishop for a pawn when my opponent's already up a pawn. So that would have put me down 2 more points of material, been down a full bishop at that point. And I don't know how that would have kept... Oh, their knight's undefended. Okay. I would have taken here, they would have taken back, and then I would have gotten their knight. And then they would have gotten this pawn. Okay, but the other move... I I should be able to see that. I think it's a discovered attack on the knight. I should be able to see that. The other move was king to h1. That also keeps us very close to even. I'm not sure exactly why, except maybe because they can put their queen here and then do some sort of discovery, I don't know where, with their knight. But king to h1. Okay, well, this was an inaccuracy. I slid the bishop back. It seemed like the bishop was under attack. I should slide it back. And also a discovered attack on their knight. But they did play queen to b6. Oh, wow, okay. Oh, and now I'm not supposed to play king to h1. I did, though, and that's inaccurate. Wait, I think these inaccuracies are a little stronger than the inaccuracies on the other site, because that's taken me from very close to even to minus 1.4. And then after they put their queen here, moving my king over takes us from minus 1.2 to minus 3. That's a mistake, I think. Okay, but what should I have played now? Knight to d4. Okay, I guess I see that if I am worried about the discovery on my king. Knight to d4 would block it. It would also blockade this pawn temporarily. But, oh, and it would protect that pawn, which is currently under attack. I think that's what we're getting at here. But this is an inaccuracy. Takes us to minus 3 point something. Their best move is still to move the knight, because they have an outpost square for it here. And now my king is trapped in the corner. Supposed to play rook to b1, but I didn't find that. I found this. I don't know what does that do. If you've watched me play any games, you know that this is much closer to my normal playing style to just find a way to harass their queen and make it move. So I don't know what I was thinking by playing rook to e2. That's my other mistake, but I was already, as you saw, already fairly well behind due to those two inaccuracies. Before the mistake here, I was already down minus 4 due to 2 inaccuracies. So it wasn't the mistakes that got me. But what does my opponent do? They're still only up a pawn. Okay, now they're up 2 pawns because they can take that. I'm worried about a discovery on my queen here, right? Because they can check me, and I have to do something about the check, which, if they check me, if I don't do anything on the next turn, or if I just do something, I don't know, wasteful, like move the rook over or something, they can check me. When I take that knight, which is, I think, would be my only legal move, then they'd win my queen, which isn't even protected. Stockfish says it's so bad that I should just protect the queen with the bishop. And then, yes, they are going to check me. I'm going to take it, and they're going to take my queen. That's how bad it is. I thought I was doing okay by just dropping back. But the problem is that now they have this. It's protected by the queen. So if I take it, I lose my rook, and they have a queen sitting right there. And I must have been tired when I was playing this game. I went ahead and resigned. If I haven't mentioned it, it's been over 100 here for day after day after day for something like 45 days. And I usually play these evening games outside on the front porch so I'm not distracting the rest of the family that's trying to get to bed at that time. Also, the heat might be a factor. In fact, let's just go ahead and go with that excuse. It's over 100 after dark. I'm outside at 10:30 or so at night, and it's over 100 still, sometimes 99. So I'm just going to go ahead and say the heat melted my brain, and that's what happened here. I think I understand why some of these are mistakes. Let's go on to the next game. Okay, in this game, neither my opponent nor I had any mistakes or blunders. We each just had a handful of inaccuracies, and then I won when my opponent left the game. Oh, I'm going to take a look to see if the inaccuracies were actually that serious. Once again, we got the Italian game, or something like it. I went to protect that pawn because I'm getting better at seeing that this pawn's being threatened when that knight comes out. That was their inaccuracy. Turn on the engine here. It's still even. That's inaccurate. Really? What should I should have just dropped this back. Well, it says if I dropped it back, I would have ended up playing this on the next turn. So what difference does it make to do it in a different order? Apparently it makes a difference because why? Because they can take what? Stockfish says black has an advantage, a very slight advantage, if they'll just take this pawn right now. And then I will take it. Then they'll move this forward, forking the rook and the bishop. And instead of moving the rook back, it says I would take that pawn. Oh my. I think that's a higher level thing because I don't know too many opponents that are going to take this at my level. But maybe I should be watching out for it. If they take that, they didn't, but if they had, it's my best move to take back. That's what it says. And then they're going to fork us. They can't take because their queen's guarding it. My best move's to give up the rook by taking this pawn. The only move that's not a blunder. If my opponent had done that, I would have blundered here. I'm pretty sure. I would have thought that I already blundered and that I maybe lost because when I save the rook, they're going to get this bishop for free. I would not know that this would keep us even. And it says they're not going to take here. Why not? That's a blunder. They take here, that's a blunder. +5 for me if they take the... Whoop, it's not even listed among +5 now. Now their third best move is to castle, which would be a blunder. And this is worse than that. Okay, what do I do if they take that? They're going to get out, and then I'm going to take their rook. Okay, but they took mine, right? Okay, well, hopefully I edited out a really long pause there. I felt like my mind just went blank, and I realized I'm going to have to work really hard and hopefully not get any older. Let's root for me on that one, and we'll see if I can keep from getting older. And if so, maybe I'll eventually learn how to spot this kind of stuff, and I'll end up in this position after, what? This would have been move 10? But instead, after I played this inaccuracy, which allows this whole series here, which, again, I don't know too many of my opponents that would fall into that, and if they did, I would make the wrong responses, and it would get messed up really fast. My opponent played here, which was inaccurate. Gave me a slight advantage if I'll play d3. How did I know to play d3 here? I did play d3. I would have done almost as well to just drop this back, which was one of the ideas for playing c3 in the first place, is that this bishop has somewhere to hide if it needs to, but d3, does this pawn need protecting right now? I played d3 in this game, it says. I'm kind of surprised that I played that, because I honestly can't see why that's the best move right now. You know what? Yes, I can. I know what I was thinking. I was thinking that since I played c3, I couldn't develop the knight to its normal square, and I wanted to get those other two pieces out. I've been trying to follow opening principles, so I wanted to put the bishop here and then the knight behind it, and that's why I had to play d3. Okay, my opponent's supposed to play queen to d7 or castle. They did, and then h3 is my next move. But instead, I did the thing I said I was going to do, but I did it in the wrong order, so I didn't get the bishop out. I got the knight out first. I guess that's okay, because the knight protects the other knight, and I have a very slight lead. My opponent played that, which is okay, I guess. And I didn't know what to do here, so I just played that. Okay, a3. Oh, and earlier when my opponent was supposed to play here, and they're not anymore. Now they're supposed to bring this bishop back, but they didn't. This time they did play knight to a5, but it wasn't one of their better moves. And I'm supposed to play the bishop all the way back, and I did. c5? That's what I played. I don't know what that's supposed to do. I was supposed to again threaten this bishop, or I guess threaten the knight, and then when they took with the pawn, I could take again. Or knight to f1. I don't know that I've ever played knight to f1, but maybe I need to look into it. Okay, yeah, I played that threatening the knight. It has to go somewhere. Nope, it doesn't. The stockfish says it's protected by the queen, so it doesn't have to move. It can. That's okay. Or they could play b5. Well, my opponent went back there, and that's fine. And then supposed to bring my queen back, or all the way back, but I didn't. I did that, and they did that finally. I brought my queen back part way. We're still even. I took there. That gives my opponent a very slight advantage, and then they left the game. Okay, well, hopefully that one didn't take up a lot of time, and I've edited out most of it, but I don't think I learned anything from that, except maybe once in a while I should try to play knight to f1. My opponent had 9.5 minutes left on the clock when they left the game, so I don't know if they disconnected or just didn't like the position or what, and they just abandoned. Which, I mean, I got 9 points for it, so let's go on to the next one. All right, this is the third of many games that I'm going to try to get through. This one, I did lose by checkmate after a long time. According to the graph at the bottom, I was only ahead twice. And even though it says I have 5 blunders and 3 mistakes, I'm not going to go through all of those. I'm going to go to the 2 places where I was ahead and see how I lost it and what I should have done instead. Okay, this is one place in which I was ahead. As you can see, it's very late in the game. I had been behind all the way up until here, and we're at move 29. And it says I played knight captures. I captured that knight. I mean, that pawn with my knight. And that was a blunder, even though I don't know. Why is it a blunder? I'm not sure. I didn't look, but I just remembered. On Lichess, it lists what I should have played right there in the move list, doesn't it? And there's no way to get rid of that. Well, I didn't look, and I'm going to try to figure out what I should have played instead. I don't think I should have taken that pawn, or maybe I should have. I had 2 pawns here, but this one is more central. This one is actually a passed pawn, and there's a passed pawn there. I think that's why I chose to take this one, because again, they have 2 connected passed pawns. Both of them are passed, and they're on adjacent files. But this one I can take. My rook guards that square. And I'm not worried about back rank because my rook is still back here. If my rook gets off the back rank, it's going to be to take that one. Maybe the problem is that they could push this pawn. Maybe that's the problem. Okay, I think I got it. I was giving up a knight for a pawn. Okay, so when I took that, they probably should have put, I don't remember if they did or not. They probably should have pushed their c pawn. Then I would have had to come over either in front of it or over to here to protect my king, and then they would have gotten my knight. Or if I came off the back rank, they would have promoted, and that would have been very quickly checkmate. Okay, so I'm going to guess I should have taken... Wait, if I take that pawn, they still move this forward. But now if they move it forward... No, they wouldn't move it forward because their rook's right there. They would have to move their rook first. Okay, that's what I'm going to guess I should have played. It was not. It was king to f8, and yes, it did list it right here. Is there a way to get rid of those? If I delete that one, are the other ones still going to be there for my other blunders? Delete 14 moves? I don't know. Did it delete all the rest of the game? No, it didn't. Okay. It just... Oh, it still says it. It still says blunder king to f8 was best. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay. Yeah, it's making it hard for me to learn from these. But anyway, it was not taking that pawn. How bad would it have been if I took that pawn? Oh, it would have been really bad. They just would have moved this forward a little bit. So now I can't come back. But I would have threatened it. And they wouldn't have cared that I threatened it. They would have played d5. Okay. So backing up, what I should have played was that the only move that maintains my -4 is this. Moving the g pawn would have maintained -3. And the h pawn would have been -2. But taking that pawn was a blunder and gave my opponent +6. Now, if you can see the move list over there at the right, you know that they blundered right back. I've already seen that. It's hard not to see it. There's no way to block it out that I know of. Is there? King to f8. How was I supposed to know that? What chain of events leads me to guess that, or to think, even considering that this is good? Normally, if I have a rook here, and say my opponent had, 2 rooks on the back rank, but not this one in the middle, and they moved one of them over, and I just had one lone rook back here, it's not defended. In those cases, I do understand moving the king, nudging it over, because then it protects the rook. And then if they check, and then if they threaten my rook, I don't have to worry about it, because if they take it, I can take back. If they check me, I can slide back in there, I guess. I think of it in those situations when my rook is right next to it, but here, what does it do? It can't go any further. Is it saying at some point I should then threaten their rook after my king is here? Then what am I going to do about that? If one of you knows why king to f8 is good here, let me know. But I played that, and I've already determined that c7 is their best move. That's what it says. It's the only move that's not a blunder for them. They ran down here. That's a big blunder because it gave up their +11. I need to play g5, rook to a8. To protect my a pawn. Okay. Wasn't that worried about the a pawn. I was worried about this one because I thought that's why they moved down here, was to protect this coming down. I thought I could move here, and then I'm protecting their pawn that's coming down. That's an inaccuracy. It's an inaccuracy because they can play f5 and stop it, but they didn't. They just took my a pawn, which is okay. Now here's my next... Wait, I said I was just going to hit the 2 spots. Sorry. I wasn't ahead there. I just got further behind. So I'm going to go to the place where my opponent blundered and gave me a huge lead. Not as big as before, but -4 if I'll check them. Oh, because then I can win this pawn. But I checked them there. I do see this one. I still don't understand king to f8 on the other scenario, or the 2 lesser moves, g6 and h5, that it said would have maintained my advantage in that other position. This one I do understand. I've got to be worried about those pawns. This way I get one of them clean. But then they're going to get my a pawn after that, right? After I check here, I don't know where they're going to move the king. Then I'm going to get this pawn. I'm still not threatening their c pawn, so they can check here. Not check. They can capture my a pawn and get behind their c pawn. But yeah, I see that one. Okay. Well, this is part of the problem with letting so many games back up, that I've got a lot to go through and I can't spend a lot of time on each one. But I think I did. I saw a couple of things here, but I didn't understand king to f8. I'm going to go on to the next game. Okay, if I'm counting right, this is the 4th one. This one, I did win. I'm looking at the graph and the thing on the side. If I hadn't have cropped them off, you would have seen them on the screen, so I don't consider that a spoiler. It's over. But there was one point at which I gave away a lead, and my opponent didn't take advantage of it. I'm going to go to right there on, looks like move 30. My opponent has made a mistake. I'm up -3 or so. And yes, I know it says in the right column what I should have played, but I'm going to try to figure it out without looking over there. Well, I don't remember what I did play, much less see what I should have played. I had just threatened their queen, so they dropped it back, but it was a mistake to do so. They should have done something different. Oh, should I have checked here? Or is that what I did? Oh no, that's not what I did or what I should have done. Okay, only have one move. Only one move here that gives me the -4. And it's queen to c7. Oh, that threatens their queen. That threatens a trade. I'm only up 2 pawns. Should I Should I threaten the trade right now? What, they are connected center pawns. One of them's passed. Maybe I should trade. Maybe I should have been worried about this a little more. What I was seeing was this, and I thought if I got a rook down here, I'm aiming more at that because my queen's aiming there too, right? So I already have 2 pieces aiming here, but they have 2 defenders. So I thought add a 3rd attacker to that piece, and then I'll be doing okay. But that was a blunder. It's my 3rd best move. Rook to c4 Rook to c4 would have been my 2nd best move. Giving up the rook for their rook and a check. Wow. I don't think I would have seen that, but I did see I was building up pressure on f2. So I played there and brought the game back to even, but only if my opponent plays bishop to e2 here. Okay, I get it. It took me a second. I was thinking, but that just hangs the bishop. But it opens up this. And that's why I should have played queen to c7. So their queen would have had to have moved again. But right now they can go here. Looks like they're threatening my knight. Looks like they're giving up a free bishop. But they're threatening mate, and I have to do something about that. And it says if they played here, my best move would be to take that f2 pawn, give up the queen and the knight in order to avoid the mate here. But they didn't find bishop to f2 or bishop to e2. They did what I would have done here, which is to move the rook over to f1 to protect the king. And then I had the lead for the rest of the game. But I will just go ahead and say, during all of that, I had no idea that I was up at one point. I had no idea that I was up here. I thought they did the right thing by adding a 3rd defender to that pawn. I have 3 attackers on it. I don't have another way to add another attacker to it. They clearly have a battery lined up on the H file if the bishop can ever get out of the way. I did play my best move here, which is queen to c7. And because I saw the battery this time. Earlier, I didn't realize how important it was because I didn't know they had this resource. I still don't know they had that, but now I know we can trade off the queens. Their best move is not to do what they did, which is to give up the bishop. If I take the bishop with my king, I'm way ahead. But if I take it with my rook or my queen, I lose immediately. And those are the only 3 legal moves. I don't know how long I thought about this, but I was pretty sure they could mate me here if I didn't get out. It says I had 440 left. Oh, I only spent 6 seconds on that. Okay, well, that shouldn't be that hard to figure out at my level. But anyway, so I pulled that one out. But back here, only move. And it says they just would have edged up a little bit. And then I would have played knight to f4, which threatens the queen again and is protected by my queen, so they wouldn't take it. Wow. Yeah, see, that's an engine line. If I had played queen to c7 and they had played queen to h3, let's see, would that have been their best move by far? Yeah, by a good 2. No, actually, it's bishop to e2 is still up there. Oh, it dropped again. Okay, but queen to h3 is their best move. Would I have seen this? I don't know. Oh, that's my only move. Only move. There's not even another one that maintains a little bit of an advantage. That's the only move that maintains the advantage. I would have had to have seen that. They have 2 moves here. 3. They can come across. They can come across a little further, or they can go back there. Oh, nope, now it says up here. All of those are 5 point something. And each one of them requires a different response from me. Those are the really hard positions for me, is when the opponent has several moves that maintain the same, in this case, huge advantage for me. But each time, no matter what they do, I have an only move. They don't have an only move here. Any of those maintain about -5. So if they go here, okay, I don't have an only move here, but knight to g6 would be my best one. e5 would be okay. But some of those, but you saw the last 2 times I had an only move. That's pretty hard for me. Anyway, I'm glad I won this game. Let me go on to the next one. Okay, the 5th game, it said I had 2 mistakes and a blunder, but both of them came when I was already ahead and just took away from my lead a little bit, but we never got back to even. I was ahead from move, looks like 3 or 4 in this game. After this, my opponent never had equality again. Because, what is that? Have I sunk so low that I'm playing people that bring out the queen on move 2? I guess I have. It says knight to f6 is my best move. I played that. And then they're supposed to take their queen all the way back, but they didn't go all the way back. So my best move is e5. I played that. I don't like but one problem with this, in my opinion, is that I've practiced the Caro-Kann defense. But now what are we doing? That's not where the Caro-Kann defense goes. What is it even called now? Oh, the book still calls it the Caro-Kann, but now it looks like an e5 position in which I later played c6. But they have a queen over there. For some reason, they did that, which might have been really great if my knight wasn't already in the way, and if I didn't already have this c-pawn here. I'm supposed to play d5 now. This is the hillbilly attack, except in the hillbilly attack, the queen is still on its home square, and the knight's still on its home square. But this is basically the hillbilly. Oh, also this pawn's not there. But yeah, these 2 pawns hitting this is the hillbilly attack, if that's what had happened on moves 2, 1 and 2. But that's their best move. That's my best move. Now they have to run away with their bishop, but they didn't. They went over there. My best move is to block with the knight, and I did. They're supposed to take it, but they did that instead. So as you can see, we're on move 7, and I'm down -4. So I don't need to go through all the mistakes on this one. By the time my mistakes and blunders came along, I was already well ahead. Let's do one more. Okay, if you're counting, this is the 6th game. It will be the last one that I do in this video because there's no way I'm going to get through all the games. And I'm already feeling myself getting a little fatigued from trying to figure all this stuff out, mentally fatigued. This one I won, but I had 4 blunders. My opponent only had 2 blunders, but that tells me that their blunders must have been worse than mine. I have an older video called something like classifying blunders or something like that, and I was talking about how bad they are compared to each other. Some blunders are, you lose 3 points of evaluation. Other blunders, you lose 12 points or go from like a +7 to a -7 or something. You can see the move list at the right. That's 14 moves with no mistakes, no inaccuracies, and no blunders. So my opponent and I were playing very well out until about move 16, in which my opponent made an inaccuracy. They had been getting slightly further and further ahead until that point. In fact, right before that, the engine gives them +3, and neither one of us had made a mistake or even an inaccuracy. But my opponent's up +3 here. They had to play knight to f1. Wow, I need to remember that for when I play white. That's twice in this video, the knight to f1 popped up, but I'm not here to look at their moves. That was an inaccuracy and took us back close to even. I'm going to say that's a mistake. If you're a +3 and a move takes you back to even, that's at least a mistake, if not a blunder. I'm assuming it was my best move to take back because we're still about even. It was not their best move to take back here. Let's see, I'm trying to find my blunder. These are just a few inaccuracies, a handful of them. Inaccuracy, inaccuracy, inaccuracy. Then my opponent made a mistake, giving me the advantage for the first time. Move 23, the first time that I had an advantage according to this engine. Inaccuracy goes back to about even. Inaccuracy, my opponent has a slight advantage. Okay, now we're at a point of my first blunder here. I'm not going to click the button up there because it'll show the lines. And it probably already says what I should play here too. Okay, can't block with the bishop, but I can block with the queen. I can block with the rook. I think that's bad. So it's probably not that. I also don't remember what I did. And I can't look at the move list because it'll tell me what I should have done. That's bad. Blocking with the queen probably isn't horrible. Although, I mean, we'd have to trade and then my king would be out here. And they could follow that with the check, taking the pawn. No, well, I wouldn't take it with my rook. Yeah, they would follow with taking that pawn. So blocking with my queen is probably bad. So I have 2 ways to move out of check. I'm guessing I went into the corner. Or did I come out? I don't know. It's one of those, and I did the other one, is my guess. I was wrong. I mean, I was right that I did this, but I was wrong that the other one was correct. The best move was to block with the queen. Really? By far. Okay, so either one of these would have been a blunder. I had to block with the queen. Okay, well, it is somewhat comforting that of the 2 king moves, I picked the slightly better one. Moving to f8 would have been worse. I thought so. One reason I thought that is because it takes away one possible square for my knight. So that's why I moved here. I'm guessing, I don't remember for sure, but I'm guessing that during the game I went through the same thought process that I went through here, which is that if I moved my queen over, they would take it, and then when I took back, they would get this pawn. But it says they wouldn't. It says they would take the pawn first. Either way, they could take the pawn or take the queen. Either way, my opponent has a slight advantage if I had done that. But I didn't. They took there, and I moved over. Now, they only have one move, and it is still taking that pawn. I'm guessing the reason that they didn't, and the reason I thought I was okay here, is because it looked like if they took it, I would take back with the rook, they would take back with the bishop, I would take back with my queen, and I would have gotten 2 minor pieces for the rook and the pawn. 6 points versus 6 points. And very often, not always, but very often in the long run, 2 minor pieces are better than a rook in an endgame. Again, it depends on the situation, depends on how many pawns there are and where those pawns are placed and what else is on the board. But at least in my limited experience, I would rather have a bishop and a knight versus just a rook. most of the time. And that's probably what my opponent thought here, which is why they didn't take that pawn. But that was their only move here, and they didn't make it. They brought it back to even. Okay, and a few moves later, I made my second blunder of the game. They finally did take that pawn, because after they traded off the queens, now I can't do what I said I could do before. Oh, I looked at the move list before thinking about it. Wow. I had to move king to g8 or knight to f8. Those are the only two moves that maintain equality. And my third best move is to give up the rook for the knight. But that's bad. But I did something even worse than that, apparently, because it's not listed up there. Perhaps, obviously, I thought they were about to go here, g6, and check me and win my rook. So I moved my rook, which is there. I don't know why I didn't think about moving it back or what difference it would have made. But whoa, what happened? I must have clicked on the end button rather than the next button. That one's on me. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Okay. I can't blame that on the website. I moved up here because I wanted to keep them from forking me. But that's really bad. But only if they'll play rook to b1. Oh, no, they have two moves. Or knight to f7 check. Oh, because I'm not guarding that anymore. But then I would come out. And then what would they do? Then they would play knight to d6, which is protected by their bishop. Okay. I don't think they would have found that. Oh, they did find that. Okay. I had to come out. And then did they find knight to d6? No, they thought they were forking here. But that allows me to move here to guard the bishop. Okay. I had one more blunder a little bit later. Before we go any further, look at the clocks. I have 5 minutes left. My opponent's down to 27 seconds. We're still fairly close to even, although I wasn't sure of that at the time because of this pawn right here. I have two passed pawns, but they're not connected and they're not very far advanced. Their pawn is one square from promotion. If they somehow trade off for this knight, I don't think I can stop that pawn from promoting. I'm trying to keep my rook behind it too, so I have two pieces guarding this promotion square. But I might have to give up my rook for it, and then I don't know if I can get all these down there. So I didn't know we were close to even here. My opponent is supposed to play knight to d6. Bishop to d6. I guess so that's so they can move their rook. Oh, also it would keep me from pointing at their rook, maybe. I don't know if I would have found that if I were them. They came after my rook, which I understand. The problem with that, of course, is that their pawn is undefended, and I'm going to guess I didn't take it. Oh, why did I do that? I should have just taken the pawn. Why didn't I take the pawn? Oh my goodness. It might have been one of those situations in which I noticed that my opponent was short on time, so I started moving faster to kind of make sure that I continued to have more time than them. But I had a lot more time than them here. I had 5 minutes. How much time did I spend on that move? 2 seconds. Let this be a lesson to you. If you have 5 minutes advantage on your opponent in a 10-minute rapid game, take longer than 2 seconds to look at your move. Yes, my rook's in danger. Yes, I have to move it. Those squares are all covered by the king. This square's covered by the bishop. But this square is safe. Let's put those in green. Safe, safe, which is why I picked it, and safe. Yeah, I should have taken the pawn. That took about 4 seconds to figure out. If I had taken longer than 2 seconds to make that move, I would have found it, but I didn't. But my opponent mistaked here. Is that a verb? It is now. They mistaked. Or they mistook. No, they mistaked. But we're not to my blunder, which is what we were getting to here. Probably supposed to take the pawn again. I saw the move list before I could remind myself not to look at it. Yep, I should just take the pawn. But I took the bishop. Why didn't I take the pawn? What magical force field was around my brain that I thought that pawn was untakeable? The good news is my opponent only had 2 seconds left here. So they managed to get in a few more moves. I don't know how that's even possible. Were they pre-moving? They got in 6 more moves in 2 seconds. They must have been pre-moving. They promoted. I took it. I mean, now they have 0.4 seconds left, and they got in 3 more moves. Yeah, they had to have been pre-moving. That's a blunder. But they ran out of time there. But yeah, this one was about taking that pawn in a couple of places. I don't know why I didn't see taking the pawn. That's embarrassing, and it's a kind of a weird note to end this video on. But and whatever other lessons I learned at the beginning, hopefully those chess positions and ideas will sift through my head and come to something concrete later. Maybe someday I won't know what to do, but I will instinctively play the right move because I've been going over this. But one concrete lesson I can learn and maybe pass on to some of you, when you have a big time advantage, use it. As you saw, I was trying to move quickly, hoping my opponent would run out of time, and they did, and I won. But I could have just taken that pawn multiple times. Well, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for spending your time here, and I will see you next time.